In a time before legends were written, in a world where giants walked beside men, they faced the impossible, not as enemies, but as brothers. Against the raging winds, under a merciless sun, they dared to build what would last beyond their own lives. This is not just a story of stone and sand. It is a story of unity, of sacrifice, of dreams reaching the heavens themselves. Tonight, witness the forgotten alliance that shaped the world forever. Beneath a sky heavy with the fire of a dying sun, the desert pulsed with an ancient life. The sands, golden and endless, seemed to hum with the heartbeat of the earth itself. There, amidst the swirling dust and shimmering heat, stood a marvel unlike any other, a colossal pyramid, its vast stones kissed by centuries yet unborn. Around its base, gathered in solemn unity, were the architects of this wonder, humans and giants, side by side, their bodies covered in sweat, sand, and pride. The giants, towering like living mountains wrapped in flowing robes, bore the marks of endless toil upon their mighty frames. Beside them, humans, small in comparison, yet unyielding, tightened their worn leather belts, wiped their brows, and stood tall. Today was not just the end of a building, it was the crowning of a dream stitched together by calloused hands and beating hearts under the merciless sun. The air grew tense as the final stone, a monolith carved from the heart of the mountains, was prepared for its ascent. It rested upon a massive wooden sled, lashed tightly with thick ropes that had frayed from weeks of strain. Giants positioned themselves at the front and sides, their colossal hands gripping the harnesses, while dozens of humans swarmed around, checking every knot, every pulley, every creak of the ancient wood. A low chant began to rise, a deep, rhythmic thrum born from the chests of both man and giant. It was not a song of triumph yet. It was a song of burden, of one last heave against the impossible. As the first pull strained the ropes taut, a gust of wind swept through the gathering, lifting sand and robes into the air like the wings of unseen spirits. Faces tightened, muscles tensed, feet dug deep into the shifting sands. Every breath drawn was a silent prayer that this final effort would not fail, that the monument would stand complete, a defiance against the inevitable forgetting of time. Each block in the Great Pyramid weighs up to 80 tons. Modern cranes struggle with that load. How were they moved with such precision? Mainstream archaeology credits ramps, manpower, and ingenuity. But some believe giants helped, lifting and placing stones no human could handle. Finally, after what felt like an eternity locked in battle with the earth itself, the sled reached the massive ramp that spiraled toward the pyramid's summit. Here, the task grew even more treacherous. The incline was steep, the surface uneven, and each step forward demanded twice the strength, twice the faith. Giants positioned themselves behind the stone, bracing it with their powerful arms, while humans scrambled ahead, pulling, guiding, shouting over the roar of the rising wind. Dust devils spun madly around them, carrying the cries of encouragement and the desperate grunts of exertion into the sky. Every soul there, giant and human alike, knew that one misstep could send the stone crashing down, undoing years of relentless work in a heartbeat. Yet no fear lingered in their eyes, only fierce determination. Together they moved, an unstoppable tide against the weight of the world, inching ever closer to the heavens they dared to challenge. As the final stretch loomed before them, the wind grew wild, thrashing at their robes and filling the air with a constant, haunting howl. It was as if the desert itself resisted, unwilling to surrender its ancient silence to the roar of triumph that was about to break free. Yet the builders pressed on, eyes narrowed against the stinging sands, hands bleeding against rope and stone. Then, with one last unified cry that echoed like thunder across the endless dunes, they pushed the great stone into its destined place. The moment the slab slid into its final slot atop the pyramid, a deep, resonant thud reverberated through the structure and into the ground beneath their feet, a heartbeat from the very bones of the earth. For a fleeting second, all paused, the chanting ceased, and a sacred stillness blanketed the world. Every heart, giant and human, held its breath, awed by the realization that they had done the impossible together. As the cheers began to fade into the horizon, the reality of the moment settled in. The pyramid, now complete, its final stone locked securely into place, towered high above them, its silhouette cutting into the darkening sky. Its shape, bold and unyielding, reflected the unity and sacrifice it represented. The humans and giants stood before it, gazing upward, the enormity of what they had accomplished slowly sinking in. Beneath the pyramid's shadow, they seemed smaller than ever, yet in that space, their collective pride dwarfed all else. The wind, now a gentle whisper, carried a deep sense of peace through the air, as if the world itself had acknowledged their achievement. There was no need for words. In the shared silence, in the way their eyes met and held each other's gaze, they all knew that this was not just a monument to the gods, but a testament to what could be built when hearts, no matter how different, beat together in a single rhythm. The winds began to calm, and the last rays of the sun slipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The giants, exhausted but proud, gathered together, their massive forms silhouetted against the fading light. Humans stood at their sides, their faces lit with a mixture of awe and reverence. For a brief moment, it felt as though time itself had paused to honor their labor, the long years of hardship, the struggles they had faced, and the friendship they had forged. The pyramid, now towering in its majesty, was no longer just a pile of stones. It had become a symbol of everything they had sacrificed, not just their strength, but their hearts and their trust. They had built not only a monument to the gods, but to themselves, to what they could achieve when they chose to work together instead of against each other. As the first stars began to twinkle in the sky above, the giants and humans stood together in quiet celebration, knowing that their names would be carried on the winds, whispered by the sands for generations to come. As the night embraced the desert, the figures of giants and humans began to fade into the shadows, their hearts still soaring with the thrill of their accomplishment. The pyramid stood tall, its stone surface now gleaming in the moonlight, a silent witness to the bond forged between them. It was more than just an achievement. It was a legacy, a reminder that anything, no matter how impossible, could be accomplished when strength and trust were shared. With a final glance at the monument, they began their quiet retreat into the night, knowing that their names would echo through history. As the winds whispered their story across the endless sands, the voices of the present and the past merged into one timeless chorus. Thank you for watching this incredible journey of unity and triumph. To see more epic tales of myth and history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Your support means the world. Join us on this adventure as we uncover the stories that have shaped the world.